Welcome to episode 54 of the Relationship Marketing Podcast with Cody B. Today's guest is Tom and Adrian Chenault. Tom Chenault is the CSO and co-founder and the inspiration behind contact mapping. He developed the ideas and philosophy that underpin the app over a 4-decade career spanning successful turns in hospitality, corporate sales, financial services, and network marketing. Tom and his wife, Denise Chenault, are recognized among the top trainers and leaders in the network marketing profession and were recently inducted into the Network Marketing Hall of Fame. Over the years, they have built their career on the principles of the coffee shop interview and contact mapping and have mentored thousands of others to success across multiple industries by doing the same. Adrian Chenault is the CEO and co-founder of Contact Mapping. Adrian recognized an opportunity to take the principles of contact mapping pioneered by his father and infuse technology to make it easy for people of any industry to achieve greater success and connection in their lives. Prior to contact mapping, Adrian spent 7 years at Rackspace, where he was most recently Senior Director of International Finance. He led the finance function for all of Rackspace's operations outside the U.S. During his 7 years there, he worked in the U.S., U.K., Australia, and Switzerland. Adrian earned his Chartered Financial Analyst designation while working as an equity analyst for South Texas Money Management. He graduated summa cum laude from Trinity University in San Antonio, Texas. And now, Cody B.
Hey everybody, this is Cody Bateman. Welcome to a new episode of our Relationship Marketing Podcast. Super excited today. Oh my goodness. We got a double whammy today. We got two in the house. You've already heard the bio on these gentlemen, and it's going to be really exciting to listen to these two guys, co-founders of a company called Contact Mapping. Welcome to our show. This is a father and son team, Tom Chenault and Adrian Chenault. How you doing, guys?
We are doing fantastic. And yeah, I brought my little boy with me. He's 4 years old, and he's sitting on my lap right now, and extremely proud to be on this unbelievable podcast, webinar, TV show of Cody's. I've been a fan of his for so many years, an introvert done well, and he doesn't even know it, but he's like my idol. And you know, he's obviously got toys, but I don't know that I've ever met a guy more mission driven who cares more about people in my life. And thank you for that, Cody.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Mutual feelings. I just admired you guys and your work from a distance. It's kind of hard because I want to do both of you justice. You know, Tom Chenault, you and your wife Denise, and all of the accomplishments you have in the direct sales network marketing profession. Talk about the who's who, the top of your profession, featured in pretty much everything. You've got your radio show that's world renowned. You interview it very nicely, by the way. I mean, I'm a little intimidated today because I'm the guy doing the interviewing, and you're the professional interviewer. You've had your radio show for years, and you've been such an inspiration to so many people in the small entrepreneur space. You know, the small guy or gal that wants to build an in-home business. You've used primarily network marketing as your platform. And you have mentored some massive success with lots of people, so and kept the profession at such a high level. In fact, I want to start there. I do want to start there. We're going to get into the whole your philosophy of contacts and relationships and that, but I do want to start a little bit with you, Tom. You know, the network marketing profession, we have similar interests there. I own a company that's in the network marketing space. You're top rep for a company there. Plus you do consulting work, and you know, you're a top trainer all over the world. One of the key challenges to the network marketing space is to elevate the profession, to get it up to the top shelf of professionalism. And your work has been monumental in doing that. Let me start by asking, what do we as network marketers, people in the network marketing profession, what should we be doing better to elevate the profession as a whole?
Stop throwing up on people and drop people where they want to be, Cody. This is the only profession on the planet where we interview people with our eyes at Starbucks. and then run up to them and completely barrage them with whatever opportunity it is we have. You know, you can tell I'm not a very thin guy. I wore a sweater on purpose that's black, so you couldn't tell that I do have a tendency toward the large side of things. So I'm everybody's prospect for weight loss. And so everywhere I go, and I walk in the door and they're hitting me with a wafer or a shake, and I don't want a wafer or a shake. They have to just ask me a question about what I want, and I'm going to tell them. And that's literally every human being. So interviewing people with your eyes and then running your agenda at them like a freight train is the opposite of what Adrian and I stand for.
Well, and you've been that way forever. Like you've had that philosophy, even back when that philosophy wasn't cool. I mean, you know, I talk on this show a lot about, you know, 15, 20, 25 years ago, the sales profession in general was way different than it is today. I mean, that's when the fancy sales deck presentation with the, you know, all the closing tactics and everything. There was a time when that stuff worked. There was a time when that stuff worked in network marketing. But today is so dramatically different now. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work like it is. But you've been preaching it even when it did work, that it's about relationship more than it's about the close. Is that right?
100%. You know, and I know you love motorcycles, and I know you love motorsports, and I know you have a lot of those kind of things. But I know what drives Cody Bateman, and that isn't that. It's your 3 kids. It's your grandkids. It's about the difference you're making in the world. And I believe that's everybody. And at the end of the day, you end up getting all that stuff and you realize how phony it all is. And what you really have left is your relationships. And I got there early because I was such a train wreck as a human being. I mean, I've been this way literally all my life because I had no other skills. So I learned on early in the game that everybody's best agenda is their own. And my job is to get out of mine and into theirs. And so I've been doing this through, I was a great restaurant guy, tremendously successful, drank myself out of there. I was a huge alcoholic 30 years ago, drank myself out of that profession into airplane sales, was really good at airplane sales. Then I became a stockbroker, was really good at being a stockbroker and made all kinds of money. And everybody said, how does he do it? And it was all because of my connections, my relationships. And I just moved them from one place to the other because I treated them so well. No matter how badly things ended up, they still knew I loved them, cared about them, and I was really, really interested in what was working for them. And network marketing, it was such a natural fit for me because the product never breaks. It's human beings and hope. That's what I sell. It's what I do. And that's why I love your company so much. Somebody told me today that you've only been in business for 15 years. And I about had a heart attack because in my mind, I've been in business with you for 30 years. I can't believe it because you've made such a huge impact on me, sir.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And, you know, a lot of what you're talking about kind of leads into your son being here, Adrian. You both have co-founded a company called Contact Mapping, and it's interesting. You know, it's really cool to watch how the second generation is much better than the first. You know, smarter and kind of stuff. Like my kids are so much smarter than me, and I love you, Tom. But I think this guy sitting next to you, you know, he's just a bigger version of you. You know, you got such a vision in your mind, and then you got your son there that's so intelligent, and he's able to digitize a lot of what you've had in your head over, I don't know, lots of years. You know, you've had this philosophy about contacts and people and how to connect and how to stay in touch and know the likes and dislikes and the motivations of people. And you've all you've just naturally done that in your head. But now you got your son that comes along who's figured out how to kind of digitize all that. And you've co-founded a movement called the Contact Mapping. So Adrian, welcome to the show. And Tell us a little bit about your journey growing up.
No, not yet. I'm going to talk. I want to talk a little more.
All right.
Okay, so here's the deal, Cody. Your daughter has written a book called Algorithm of Abundance. I'll tell you how smart Tom Chenault is. He doesn't understand. I understand one of those words. Right. And that's this kid too. He graduated summa cum laude. At 32 years old, he was the head of international finance for a $7 billion company. And just rising up that corporate ladder. And every time he went up a notch, they took a little bit more of his soul. And here's how smart he is. Here's how smart your daughter is. They realized that was no way to run a horse race, and they wanted a better life. And he looked at me and he said, my dad is good at what he does, but he has no idea why he does it. He's not duplicatable. He's a train wreck on real. And that's why he partnered with this kid from MIT who's got a PhD, because they figured out that we could really change the world. Just like you did 15 years ago, this is not a carbon copy of me. He's a carbon copy of you 15 years ago. I'm telling you the truth. He's a lot more like you than he is like me. Take it away, buddy.
Thank God. Well, thank you for having me. And you're exactly right. You know, we were talking before we hit record earlier, Cody, just about what it was like, you know, growing up around a dad who is kind of legendary in his ability to make relationships, much like you are. And, you know, it was incredible. And he did a lot of things to really build that into us. And really, you know, looking back, I see his fingerprints on things that he did that I didn't even realize he was sort of building that into all of us kids at the time. And so I went into the corporate world. You know, I was the oldest kid. I wanted to, you know, kind of go and do right by the world standards. And that was kind of the path that I was on. But in the midst of that, I climbed the ranks through this publicly traded corporate company that was based in the US, but had locations all over the world. And I kept getting promoted and I kept growing inside of that company. And it was not because I was the smartest person. It wasn't because I was the hardest working person, although I like to think I'm smart and I worked really hard. But the thing that was the difference maker for me was that I had taken that ability to build relationships from my dad. And I was the one who, you know, I was a finance person. You know, most of my buddies were kind of hiding behind the spreadsheet and not wanting to get out there and talk to people. And I made it a habit of building relationships, both on a professional and a personal level, building trust. And that was really the story of my own success in a different discipline altogether. And so when that era for me kind of came to a close, and like he said, I kind of realized that the pressure only grew as, you know, meanwhile the paycheck grew. But if you don't have if you don't have time with your family, that's the most important thing to me. And so when I stepped back and we were really thinking about what's most important, it's really these relationships that drove that. And so that was what inspired us to come back together and think about how we can take what my dad does better than anybody, but that, you know, he's such a big personality that sometimes I think people they think you could do it, but I couldn't. And so we wanted to create a recipe to show anyone that no matter your personality type, introvert, extrovert, big personality, more of the quiet type, that you can create phenomenal success through doing relationships the right way.
Okay. So you said recipe, you know, you said we create a recipe. What is, because again, I mean, those who are listening who know Tom, I mean, you know, Tom's been around a long time, and
100 years.
Yeah, long time. And those of us who know you, you know, my impression of Tom Chenault is this guy's just a natural at connecting with people. You're gifted. You have a gift of being able to connect with people. So a lot of people look at that and say, well, that's just his gift. You know, you've got the gift of connecting with people. Can you really turn that gift into a recipe? I mean, and what is it?
Yeah. So talk about controlling the conversation with questions, because I think that's step one of this recipe, is really the questions and the way you ask questions.
So I told you I've been sober for 31 years, which is a long time between cocktails. And what you don't know about me is I am a closet introvert. And I don't show up like a closet introvert because I figured out how to overcome that by asking questions. And, you know, you read all these books out there. Everybody says questions are the answers, and there's even books named that. But nobody's really taken it to the level that I did, because I can fend off my introverted personality by getting completely out of me and into the person across the table. And what I found in that whole thing was, if I document, I win. So ever since I was a young guy in my early 20s, I have been documenting my relationships. And I had to do it so many different ways. All of you know that, through Rolodexes in the back of business cards. Then you had Excel, and you had Goldmine, and you had your company CRM, and you had this, and you had that, and you have Salesforce, and you got Facebook, and you got, you know, we just talked to a guy today how long is he banned on Facebook? Till March 6th?
Yeah, 3 months in the Facebook penalty box.
And the reason, you know, you're a hostage to all these people, and your biggest asset is your database. And if you use that database like a sword, it's over. And what's so cool about the app, in connection with what Cody does with his company, is everybody needs to be touched at least 8 times to truly make a sale and have a relationship. What better way than to remind yourself to kiss somebody with a card once a month until all of a sudden they realize you mean business about doing business with them. You aren't just a number. You're not just some dumb email or social media thing. You're a human being that you are going to love. And what I also know about you, Cody, is when you started your company, you had young children, you had a great wife. She licked the envelopes and took them to the post office. It was that important to you. It was that important to her. It was that important to your company. We're licking the envelopes in contact mapping the same way. It is like a magic trick. People can't figure out how I stay on top of 18,000 people in my phone. And it's because this kid changed my life. And I feel like I've known him all your life.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about just the dynamics of the contact mapping. I was kind of looking through it a little bit earlier today, and it's interesting because I had a chance to reflect. I reflected back pre-send out cards days. You know, send out cards. We have a contact management system. We have a note section in there where you keep notes on people and whatnot. But even pre-days before that, I started with a program called Personal Touch Power Systems, and it was a day planner. There's nothing digital. It was pre-internet days. It was a day planner, and it was right at the time that Franklin Covey was real big. I used to go out and say, yeah, they're the time management people. I'm the people management people, and I had this Personal Touch Power Systems. But the whole gist of it is, you opened it up and you had a contact profile page that you physically wrote in, and you wrote down name, address, anniversary date, birth date, et cetera, but then there's this note section, and you'd keep all the notes on that person, their personality, their likes, their dislikes, their hobbies, their this and that, all of that stuff, and pertinent dates that attribute to them every time you meet with them. But it was all written down physically, and then we transferred that concept into a digital format when we started send out cards. And so today, when I was looking at your stuff, it just took me back. It's like, well, geez, this is the same concept of 20 plus years ago. And to me, this is my elementary mind. To me, it's all about the notes. Everything is about the notes. It's like, okay, I meet somebody, like you said, Tom, you got to document. Everything to me has always been about notes. You know, I went to college, I took great notes. And so when I started creating a relationship, I took notes. So everything is driven by that notes section. Is that kind of the basis of your contact mapping program, or how's it work?
Coolest thing you've ever seen. This woman named Victoria, about 5 years ago, she's like this powerful woman in network marketing. And I go up to Michigan, and she's sitting across the room, and she's sizing me up, and I'm wondering why she's glaring at me. And I go, who's that woman? They said her name's Victoria, and I'm not going to say her last name, but I look in my phone, and there she is. And it was so funny because we walk across the room, and she sticks this huge ham of a hand out, and she says, Victoria. And I go, Tom Chenault. She said, nice to meet you. And I said, nice to see you. And she said, see me? What do you mean? I said, I met you 8 years ago down in Colorado Springs at a health expo. Are you still married to Iggy? And she almost swallowed her cigar.
Yeah.
But what was so beautiful about that is I had contact mapping done way back then. And I had a system that was hard, 10 times harder than it is now, but it was still workable. So I didn't have to run back and go find a business card or go to Goldmine or go to an Excel spreadsheet. I've always had contact mapping in my pocket, but being able to pull that data up right there and absolutely blow somebody away because you remembered them is worth its weight in gold. So yeah, that's it, Cody. I hit the nail on the head. That's what we do. And we're hiding in plain sight in front of every company CRM, in front of Salesforce. And this doesn't only work for business. This works for everything you do in your life. Being a better person is the most important part. And our job is to make people better people. That's
totally right. And the other thing, I think you hit the nail on the head, is it's those, those kind of old school systems that whether it's that system that you had, whether it was the index card system, there were these things back in the day that worked super well, but nobody has gone and really mastered how to do that in the digital age. And all these other sort of CRM type things out there, they're so fixated on automation and all this other stuff that's actually making you seem less human to the person who you're trying to do business with, and is totally defeating what you're trying to accomplish, in my opinion. And what we have done is said, you've got it all wrong. Let's go back to these old ways. Let's do it the right way, where it's simple, easy, where you can use voice dictation. So we'll bring the best of modern technology, but let's use these old ways that worked, because that's the stuff that was really, your grandfather's networking was the right kind of networking. It just needed a modern touch about how we go about doing it today.
Yeah, that's really good. So you're the guy that's kind of made it digital, and there's a lot of technology today that can mesh it together. It's interesting. You guys are working on this contact mapping system, and I was explaining to Tom in the pre-show. We've been in the contact management business since before Send Out Cards started, as we've explained, and so we're always dabbling in the contact management space. Always, like we're always figuring out, what can we do better? How can we make this better? How do we integrate with current CRMs, which we have a company called Sendogo that does that. But we're always dabbling in it. And I kind of see the possibility, at least, here, I'm going to do this on a live podcast, the possibility for our teams to collaborate, perhaps, because, man, I see a wealth of information from your team and our team. And, we combine some of our efforts. It'd be amazing what we could accomplish there.
So Adrian's partner has a PhD from MIT. I contact mapped him in a coffee shop, told him about Adrian coming home. He fell in love with collaborating with us. He came down here and saw what Adrian was doing at the very time Google told him they would pay him $100 grand more than he'd ever made in his life, plus give him stock options. And he looked at the people from Google and said, that job's always going to be there. This deal with contact mapping, we are building something so important that I'm going to stay with you. And that's what we're doing here. We've got a big staff here, and we're trying to change the world, Cody, because I'm sick of the sound bites. I am sick of people thinking that they've got relationships because they've got a Facebook friend. I want people to take it to the next level with real human interaction. And it's hilarious. Even when I come to Salt Lake City, what people don't realize, I always put on Facebook that I'm coming to Salt Lake, for instance. And then I look in my database of who all has a Salt Lake City number or a Salt Lake City address. And then I just text those people and tell them I love them. And then they look at my Facebook wall and realize I'm in town and have a cup of coffee with me. I am telling you, I have got this thing down to an art. And it's all so intuitive for me that it's very difficult for me to teach. These guys are doing webinars and writing ebooks and actually just huge stuff that are all play into what I have always done. And what's exciting for me, Cody, that is so good for a guy your age too, with kids and grandkids, I didn't know I knew so much. It's pretty cool.
It's interesting because I hear you guys talk, and I think this is a real important subject. We talk about making contact with people, keeping contact with them, taking good notes, putting data somewhere where we're keeping track of everything about that person, being able to pull it up on a whim anytime we need, just like your story about seeing that lady you saw 9 years before and you're able to pull something up at the time. And now with contact mapping, it'd be simple, probably right from your phone, you can do that. When people hear this, and this is what I run into all the time, because we're teaching this, you got to be this way. When people hear this, a lot of our listeners on this podcast, when they hear that, the first thought that comes to them is, oh my gosh, that just sounds like so much work. It just sounds like I've got to do all this stuff. I mean, I have a hard enough time just doing what I'm supposed to do. And now I got to take all these notes and I got to do all this stuff. And that is the mindset, and it's overwhelming to most people. How do you answer that? How do you counter that?
Let me answer it, because he answers it like too logically. Here's the deal. You've got your contact manager. You put my name and phone number in your phone, or you take my business card and you put it in your pocket and never remember who I am. Or you look at your phone 2 months from now and you see my name and phone number and you're going, who the heck is that guy? What Adrian's app does is amazing. It pops up and says, do you have a picture of Cody? Boom, you snap the picture. Then right after that, the app says, you hit save again. So now you've got the name, the phone number, and the picture, and you think you're done. All of a sudden, here comes the microphone, and you literally brain dump verbally all the notes into the phone. So then you've got this entire stream of consciousness sitting in there that no one is ever going to read but you. So it doesn't have to be grammatically correct. It doesn't have to be politically correct. It's what you felt at the moment. It's sitting in there. You hit save. The next button says, when are you going to follow Cody up? Which nobody ever follows up anybody. And the option of never is not there. So what I do with everybody is I put tomorrow. And then tomorrow I write you a note and say, Cody, nice meeting you. Here's my picture. Here's my data. Here's my contact info. You start crying. And then I put you out a month later. And then I send you a card that says it was nice meeting you. You own them. And that's what I do. And it is like a magic trick he can show you, right or not?
Yeah, totally right. And we actually have a video where it's kind of like a little mini commercial where we show this, but if you go to somebody and you have coffee with them for 30 minutes, you are truly crazy if you're not going to spend 30 seconds that you can do as you're walking to your car saying, I talked to Cody today, here's his kid's name, here's his grandkids, here's the things that I want to remember about him. And I just speak it into my phone. And by the time I'm to my car, it's done. And then I hit one button that says when I'm going to follow up, and it's there and everything is done. And the amount of time that we're ending up wasting by accident on the front end because we spend the time to have this conversation, but we don't document or follow up or do anything with it. It's just, you can't believe how much was slipping through your fingers once you make that tiny little change. And so our trick has been to use dictation and to use a really simple interface to make it really easy and fast to do that.
So let me hold it for a second. I have to tell you this right now. So I can't remember your name to save my life. You're sitting right over there in the restaurant. I know that guy over there. I cannot believe I don't remember him. And I'm trying to think of something I remember. And I pop in the word algorithm from your daughter's book. Boom. Everybody in my entire database that has something to do with the word algorithm pops up. Here comes your picture. I walk over and say, hey, Cody, how are the French fries? And you start crying. You can Google your brain.
Interesting. Okay. So the technology makes it simple, but let's jump into the heart for a second. Don't you have to want to do it?
100%.
Don't you have to want to do it? I mean, that's what I want to speak to today. Technology's great. All this stuff's great. Keep track of people's great. But at some point, in fact, at the beginning point, you have to want to do it. So how do you get a person, and a lot of listeners right now, who they may not want to do it. A lot of our listeners are thinking they need to do it, but they're still not at the stage where they want to do it. And in my mind, in order for you to be genuine, you have to want to do this stuff. You have to want to be walking to your car and voice in the person you met. You have to really want to do that. And if you don't really want to do it, then it's going to be very difficult for you to create genuine connection with people because you're doing it because you have to. How do you get to someone from having to do it in their mind to wanting to do it in their mind?
I think that educating on people on the fact that everybody they meet needs to feel trusted. They feel like they can trust you, you can trust them. They are safe, and that they belong with you is the most important thing. And as a result, what I try to train with people, which is critically important, is your relationships in the past kind of suck because they're superficial. And what I want you to get to is that you've got to elevate your game as a communicator. And I can't teach you to be a professional network marketer. I can't teach you to be a better shoe salesman. I can teach you to be a better human being. And the more interested that you are in people, the more you're going to win. And the case in point that I want to show you, Cody, is you walk in, and this used to happen to me all the time. I think it's why I became the way I became. I would be standing in a room with a cheaper product, a less expensive product that was better than the competition, but that guy over there had all the business every time. And the fact of the matter is, they just liked him better. And they were willing to pay a little more or sacrifice a little bit of quality because they liked him better. And I had to figure out what that gap was for me to become likable, to get the business and get the friends and get the girls. And I did that. And today, I am telling you what, I'm that guy. And it's not about manipulation. It's the exact opposite. It's about having so much integrity that you care enough about people to actually document it inside of an app. And apps, here's the definition of a good app, Cody. It's real important. It has to be fun, it has to make you feel good, and it has to make you feel smart. This app does that. Your company does that. And as a result, the payoff is so big. I'll never forget when I was over at Eric Warre's house 3 years ago. Beautiful home, food everywhere, presents everywhere, one card on the table. And it was a Bora Bora card from Jordan Adler commemorating a trip that he took with Eric and Marina. And that thing had been on that coffee table for years because it made those people feel so good. So my whole life is about making people feel good. And this app does that.
Wow, good stuff. Well, you're certainly good at making people feel good. It's great to have you guys on with us. So we're speaking to Tom Chenault and Adrian Chenault, co-founders of the contact mapping app, as well as Tom is in the network marketing profession. Appreciate you guys so much and the contribution that you're making. Going back just real quick to connections, making genuine human connection with people and getting people to want to do it versus happening to do it. At the end of the day, I think it's important that we tell stories, that we constantly tell stories to people about experiences we've had. And here's the bottom line. I mean, I could share hundreds of stories that all conclude that life in general is much more fun. And it doesn't matter what your personality type is. It doesn't matter if you're an introvert, an extrovert, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you live a life with people that you have a genuine connection with, you feel loved by them, you feel accepted by them, you feel like you make a contribution as well to them as well. You've just elevated your quality of life, no matter what kind of personality type you are. If you don't have connection with other human beings at that level, your quality of life is always going to be lower. So when you talk about personal development and how to create a better quality of life and more success, the importance of relationship is literally at the top of the list as to what you should be doing, because not just connection, like you said, Tom, earlier, this isn't about having a friend on Facebook. This is about having a genuine connection with somebody, or potentially a genuine connection with somebody. And the more genuine connections you have with human beings, the higher quality of life you have. What are your thoughts about that?
If you're listening to this and hearing these guys talk about what they're doing, and you're just going, man, I get it in my head, but what I feel is resistance. Like I couldn't get there from here. I don't know, whatever it is. I want you to try this, just one small experiment. Pick one relationship in your life. Maybe it's somebody you already know. Maybe you say, the next stranger that I have a decent conversation with, I'm going to do this experiment just once. And I want you to show up in that conversation more curious about the other person than you ever have before. And I want you to really try to learn about them. And I want you to write down a few things that were the most interesting things that came out of that conversation. And then I want you to wait 10 days, and I want you to either send them a card or give them a call on the phone. And I want you to play back to them, hey, I really enjoyed our conversation, and I had a question for you, or I had a thought for you, or whatever it is about something really specific that they shared with you in that conversation. And I want you to watch what happens, and I want you to observe how you feel. Because what's going to happen is what Cody just talked about, that is this incredible sense of gratitude, this incredible sense of fulfillment. You can do that all day, every day, but just do it with one person first and just see what that feels like and remind yourself what that feels like. And I think that's the step to creating a life where you do this all day, every day.
Wow, that's powerful. I appreciate that challenge for all of our listeners to go out and do that. I think that's really good. Our company right now is doing a little, just kind of a little special challenge to people out there. We call it the 12 Days of Giving. Here during the holiday season, we put a thing out there. You can join the 12 Days of Giving. You just go to 12daysofgiving.com and you can join this. And when you join, we send you a prompt a day. We send you a prompting a day that tells you to do something like you just said. I would consider that a prompting for the day, is to go do that. But we have 12 of those, 12 days of giving around the holidays. And they're just simple little prompts that say, go thank an old school teacher you had or something like that. And there's 12 of those. God, it's been so powerful. If you hashtag 12 Days of Giving, just go to Facebook or Instagram and hashtag 12 Days of Giving. You'll see all these stories that people are posting right now about acting on these prompts of just sending kindness out and trying to make connection with other people. And when you gave that challenge, Adrian, it reminded me of our 12 Days of Giving, because that's the kind of stuff we do. That's what we're all about.
That's so cool. I can't wait to go check that out. That's
yeah. That's get 12daysofgiving.com. That's my
I know. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's so cool.
12 Days of Giving. Yeah, it's good stuff. So I want to shift this a little bit. Tom, you and I have had opportunity in our profession to talk a lot about professionalism, ethics, those kinds of things, staying at the top shelf of respectability amongst human beings, doing the right thing by people, being ethical in your business, being moral and ethical and doing those things, and how important that is. Here's my question. As I listen to you talk about your philosophy of making genuine connection, taking notes on people, if people were in the practice of doing this, if people were in the practice of doing what you do and doing what your app now does, doing what we do at Send Out Cards, if they were truly in the practice of making genuine connection, I have to put the word genuine on the front of it. I can't just say making connection, because everybody does that. But truly in the habit of making genuine connection with other human beings, with the idea that you might be of service to them, would we even have to have conversation about ethics?
No. And Adrian's got an ebook on contact mapping, and it's got 8 different steps, kind of like the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, but I didn't want to try to be arrogant and say there were going to be 12. But the 8th step is leave every human being that you ever meet feeling better about themselves than when they got there. And inside of that is ethics, because there's no competition at the top in network marketing. Everybody, Cody and I are collaborating. It could be said that we're in competing companies. And how is it that we're on here talking about how great Send Out Cards is? Because it's doing something important for the planet. And it isn't about your company. It isn't about your comp plan or anything else. It's about the amount of people whose lives you're changing. I've got no problem meeting somebody, looking them straight in the eye and say, you know what? I think a home better for you might be send out cards, and I've got a friend over there named, and I'm going to send that person to somebody that I know at Send Out Cards, and I know who that guy is. You guys probably know who that is too. But I'm going to send him to him because I know the person is going to be treated better by that person and done better by that person than I would myself, because they weren't a fit in my company. And if you can change that scarcity mentality to a mentality of abundance, trying to make every human being's life better, you're going to win. And I promise you, there are even in the 12 days of abundance that he's talking about right now, that is so magical. If you talk to 3 people a day through that 12 days, you're going to have 36 people who you know inside and out. You're going to know their blood type. 36 brand new relationships that you're able to drop off right where they want to be. So maybe they just want to buy cards today or whatever. But someday they're going to come up and say, man, I think I need to make a little extra money. And because you were such a class act with them and you followed up with them religiously, they're going to call you back on the phone and say, I want to elevate myself, and I think you're my friend to do that. I am telling you, the relationship component of this is 10 times more important than any other component in the entire profession or even in life. Love like crazy, then love more, just like this little coffee cup says. Is that what it says?
Nope.
Oh, it says, fire your brain, hire your heart. Sorry, I'm not very smart. I told you that. I'm about a 3 cliche man. So sorry about that.
1 in 3 chance of guessing the right cliche written on his coffee shop.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, true story. Okay, just love these people. That's all we want. Nobody cares how smart you are. We don't even like smart people.
Yeah.
We really don't even like rich people.
Yeah.
We like nice people. So be that. You can do that no matter what your status in life is. You can be the nicest person in the room.
It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. So we're listening to Tom and Adrian Chenault. And what I'd like to do, and I typically like to close our podcast this way, is just give you guys the floor. I've been asking you questions. You've been kind of bottled in here with the questions I've asked. I want to give you the floor. Just give us any final words of wisdom, advice, anything to help bless the lives of those who are listening to this podcast. I'll just give both of you the floor. Either one of you can start, and we'll finish up that way. Go ahead.
I think what I would share as a closing thought is that if you're listening to this and what you're trying to really figure out, I'm trying to create a better life for myself. I'm trying to figure out, how do I really make my business work, whatever business you're in. I would, with almost 100% certainty, tell you that the most untapped resource in your life, however tapped it already is your relationships. And that if you can shift yourself into a mode of getting into a place of curiosity and of true, authentic desire to serve other people and to figure out what they need, and then figure out how what they need intersects with what you do, everything is going to get better in your life. You're going to have stronger relationships. You're going to get invited to more dinner parties. You're going to have more fun. You're going to make more money. Everything is going to click into place if you can just make that mental shift. And if that feels like a big shift for you, just do it one person at a time and just start watching what happens and let the snowball build, because there's such a positive reinforcement as you start doing this, because you just feel so good and you get rewarded. And so it truly is magical, and you just got to get going. Don't challenge yourself. I have to take notes on every single person I talk to. Just take notes on one, follow up, and just start seeing what happens.
And for me, I'm going to tell you, if you learn to adapt and adjust your life to what we do, you're not going to be looking at people as a prospect anymore, which is, I know what you don't want to be doing. You're going to be looking at them as a human being first. And your thought process is, what can I do to make their life better? And where can I drop them that is going to be the case? And for me, people think, oh, Tom, you're a natural born network marketer. No, I'm not. Network marketing is my job. My passion is probably alcoholics, drug addicts, homeless people, people like that. And my legacy is contact mapping and what we're doing to change the world. And to be working with my son, like you're working with your daughter with her beautiful book that she just wrote. Those are my proudest moments. And I'm 68 years old, so a lot of the whole thing's gone by on me, and I'm standing here inside of what's important. And I'm going to look back on these days with my little boy, knowing that I carried the message through him to the world, through his kids forever, that I'm most proud. So I'm going to tell you, I want you to be more like that. And you don't have to be like me, be more like that, and be your best you, and everything's going to work out. So thank you, Cody, so much for letting the two of us come on.
Well, thanks for being with us. There you have it, everybody. Adrian Chenault, Tom Chenault, thank you for the time that you spent to be on our show today. Appreciate it so much, and look forward to seeing you at some upcoming events. And we want to get with you offline. I think I need to come on down and visit with you guys, and let's collaborate some more on some of these fun projects. So appreciate all that you do, and to all of you, we'll see you on another episode. Make sure you get out there and treat people kindly every single day. Give for the sake of giving. Send out for the sake of sending out positivity to other people in their lives, and detach yourself from anything in return. It doesn't matter what comes back. The only thing that matters is what you give. Everything else takes care of itself. God bless everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care now.
If you have enjoyed this episode of the Relationship Marketing Podcast with Cody B, be sure to subscribe to the show and leave a review so that together we can get this message, The Power of Human Connection, out to the world. You can find Cody's new book, The Power of Human Connection, on Amazon or the Send Out Cards gift store.